The Great Answer by Lillian de Waters, 1940, chapters 17, 18, 19. This is the day. Quote, "This is the day which the Lord has made. We will rejoice and be glad in it." Psalm 118, 24. Today is the day of power, authority, action, and dominion. Today is the day of our Lordship, the day when it may be said of us, "Thou shalt decree a thing, and it shall be established unto thee." Job 22:28. No need then that we look into the future for peace to come, or joy and gladness to be at hand, for wars to cease and sorrows flee away. Many need to resort to the planets for information regarding our prospects for security and happiness. All such wrong thinking should be renounced, as well as the mistaken viewpoint that one needs to contend with a mortal mind or material sense, which is supposedly attempting to sow evil suggestions everywhere. Now is the time for you and for all to take the stand as one with that being which is all power in heaven and on earth, and to believe in no other. Only because he thinks himself isolated from the whole, as some weak, helpless mortal, does one accept such superstitions and vain imaginations. Seeing that we are mind and not man, that the Lord and not a servant, we cease to contend with thought or thing, and furthermore stop believing that any personal or impersonal evil needs to be vanquished. Verily, this is the day, and every hour from eternity to eternity is the day, to accept the glorious omnipotence and omniscience of ourself and being, the only power there is or can be. This is the time to speak with authority, to exercise dominion, and be a law unto all things in and of our consciousness, even as commanded by the Christ. Your willingness and readiness to give up that which concerns your assumptional personality or individual identity, to think and live as the perfect self which you eternally are, is what entitles you to direct perception and illumination. This is the day for you to determine how willing and ready you are. The Christ presence. Quote, "I go, and I will come again, and receive you unto myself, that where I am, there you may be also." John 14:3. Now I am here with you, as one of you, and in a form like yours, that you may listen to and heed me, and come to see what is true of me is true of you, and what I am, you are also. I shall come again, but my second coming will not be in the limited form of man, but as universal spirit and consciousness, and to receptive hearts everywhere. I, the Christ, the still small voice of revelation, will talk and walk with you, love and direct you, and disclose to you your identicalness with me and the great and mighty powers of our creating mind and being. I, the Christ, shall be with you always and bring all things to your remembrance, so that you shall be as I am, the light of the world. My yoke is easy and my burden is light. In the end, you shall find my simple instructions to be the easiest, as well as the single way to bring you the great answer. I, the Spirit of truth, ever present, shall bring whosoever will to accept my teaching as supreme and absolute, to see oneness as allness, and allness as oneness. I will write my words of inspiration, light and glory on the tablet of the heart, and whosoever will, let him leave all other views of life to accept all other views of life to accept as the seamless robe, the wholeness and indivisibleness of being. Fear not, fear nothing, for what is there to fear in the world of all good, all love and all glory? Fear no one, for who is here to harm you in the world where you are alone to yourself? Have you not been believing and declaring that God is all? How can God be all to you if you consider yourself a separate being or entity, your neighbor another being or entity, and so forth? Can God be indivisible perfection if there are multitudes of personalities who are foolish, ignorant, sick, at war with one another, and altogether vain? Can you reconcile that which is irreconcilable? Can you declare infinite good, infinite love, infinite peace and harmony, and at the same time believe there is evil anywhere? Verily, your misunderstanding of being and of existence shall be, quote, likened unto a foolish man which built his house upon the sand, and the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew and beat upon that house, and it fell, and great was the fall of it. Matthew 7:26. Many lives and many minds appear only because of ignorance or mental darkness. They will disappear when the one selfhood is enthroned in the heart and recognized to be the universal, excluding all individualism. Fear not, fear nothing, let not your heart be troubled. Ye believe in God as perfection and completeness outside of you. Now rise in glory to see that this very being which I am, you are also. Put away from you all your idols and idolatries, your personal attachments to things, doctrines, and forms of any kind and nature. Awake, O immortal, and put on the seamless robe, the understanding that I and my Father are one. This is the wedding garment, this the Christ presence you embody when you see and accept perfection and completeness to be all of you, and an assumptive self to be nothing. Verily, the revelation of the one being, the one body, and the one universe as unlimited, indivisible consciousness is my second coming, my second presence in your midst, which as you receive and embody shall usher you, as it were, into the place where I have prepared for you, and unto the full vision and knowledge of your identicalness with the one mind, life, being, even as I am. Equality. The ringing tones of him who knew the great requisite as well as the great answer still reverberate down through the ages. Quote, whosoever will come after me, take possession of the infinite all, let him deny himself, disclaim any form of individual selfhood, take up his cross, abide with this new idea, and follow me, accept my teaching as absolute and supreme. Mark 8:34. Quote, he that findeth his life to be the one indivisible spirit shall lose it as man a separate individuality, and he that loseth his life as man shall find it as the universal selfhood. Matthew 10:39. It should now be easy for one to grasp that all earthly troubles and problems, including the present war conditions, appear solely because of the belief in many individualities, each accepting a self and identity of his own. Surely in God, the infinite one and all, there are no such states, beliefs, nor conditions. No wonder the Christ introduced and stressed the new idea of emptying out the old bottles or former teachings, and the denial of oneself as having any individualized sense of life and things. Such wrong practice alone denotes the prodigal position, the turning away and separating of oneself from perfection as the whole, and so results in a limited sense of good and abundance everywhere. Nor can such outcome ever be surmounted, rectified, healed, or overcome individualistically. The one and only remedy is to follow our Saviour's admonition to accept the universal self as our very own. In this way, whosoever will shall come naturally and easily into possession of the all good, in which abundance and perfection dwell and abide. No one needs to take up the study of physics nor metaphysics before studying ontology. Anyone, anywhere, desiring to know the truth about life and being and the way to experience its peace, health, harmony, and fullness of all good, may now take the great answer, and without any previous religious training, come face to face with the divine and perfect, and prepare himself for direct perception and illumination. Citizens of heaven, awake! Give up your mistaken idea that you are an individual and as such entitled to the whole. It is not so. As an individual, you are entitled only to a part, a portion, a limited amount of everything. This is exactly what you are falsely claiming for yourself when you claim individuality. Just like the prodigal, when he wanted to become a distinct individual and operate on his own. Do you recall what happened to him? He was unsuccessful. He utterly failed. The time came when no man gave unto him. That is, he came to the end of his individualistic possession. Then somehow he remembered. The veil lifted. His viewpoint changed. Presently he looked toward the infinite, the whole, his very life and substance. The longer he looked, the greater his strides to it, and the farther he placed the form of individualism. To get to the Father, the house of unlimited abundance, this idea now completely consumed him. Strange, even the first steps toward it began to take away some of the terrible fear and suffering which had enveloped him. Now he rejoiced, and his heart was warm and athrill. Just the thought of that whole, which now he began to take as actually his very own, quickened his steps and accelerated his speed. Even when yet he thought he had a long distance to cover, he felt fullness and perfection right at his side. And it was so. Then he disowned all form of individuality altogether. Rapturously, he took possession of that self which is the great answer. Reader, surely now the spirit within you is bearing witness to this great realism, is it not? Your heart is touched. You are constrained to withdraw yourself from the mistaken position of separateness and division. Am I right? Then take all and fear nothing. Rejoicingly, devotedly, and wholeheartedly abide with it forever and ever. The general idea of equality is an imperfect and incorrect one, since considered from the false individualistic viewpoint. Here all wish to attain the all individually. Their ideal is to establish equal rights for everyone as multiple individualities. This ideal of equal rights for all is a true and correct one, but the belief that this can be accomplished individually is a mistaken premise. Thus continue the forms of war, struggle, lack and limitation everywhere. Despite the inherent knowledge in everyone that he is divinely entitled to all, automatically and inevitably he separates himself from it because of his false viewpoint of individualism. Prosperity is equally available to everyone, but not like an apple which may be broken up into equal parts. Should each take a part of the apple, he would obviously receive but a limited amount, thus would continue would be continue in want. Now then, the supposition that prosperity or abundance is something which is divisible, like an apple, is a postulate which is absolutely erroneous and without foundation. This very fallacy prevents the success and fulfillment of the idealism of equality for which everyone clamours today. Never can the abundance of all good be detached from God, the infinite whole. Attempting to separate them or to secure abundance of itself must inevitably prove futile, since Creator and creation are one. Unfatigably and truly, everyone is divinely entitled to all the abundance he can take, even as to all the air he breathes. But the idea of equalization of abundance based on the viewpoint that all are entitled to it separately or individually will ever prove futile. Air, for instance, is an indivisible whole. Unlike the apple, it cannot be separated into portions. Exactly so with life and being. For any to obtain unlimited abundance, he must accept the premise that it is not something to be acquired, earned, nor secured, but to come into his possession as though it were his very own, for such it is. Content to be but a limited man, how dare he claim rights to the unlimited? It is an utter impossibility for one to gain his life without losing it, or to enjoy access to the blessed whole without disowning a separate identity. Only when we accept the Creator of it, with a capital C, are we ever entitled to unlimited abundance, since Creator and abundance are one. Therefore, the single way to it for us is to create it. When we have fulfilled life's requisite, then equalization of abundance is ours forever.